Hey, everybody, welcome back to the booth. Brian, David Marshall, Ian Duke. We are getting ready to go down to the floor. We've got a big match here. We've got Dan Ward, three-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor, looking for his big breakthrough finish. And you know what? If he's going to get it, he's going to have to go through one of the best players in the game today, Owen Turtenwald.
That is a tough opponent to battle through.
Let's send it down to the floor and watch these guys fight it out. Hello and welcome to round 10 here at Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm joined by Ian Duke from Inside R&D, and we are about to watch one of the titans of the game over the last half a decade, Owen Turtenwald, playing against, someone looking to make his bones here on the Pro Tour, Dan Ward. There you get a look at Dan. He's got a handful of Grand Prix top 8s. He's played in a lot of Grand Prix. He's played in basically 24 Grand Prix.
Yeah, but relatively new to the Pro Tour, is that right?
Yeah, this is only his fourth Pro Tour, and we're underway here. What does the matchup look like there? You see a cliffside lookout from Owen Turtenwald. Black-white again here from Dan Ward. We watched him beat John Finkel last round.
Yeah, his deck looked a little bit similar to Matt Sperling's from last round, so viewers should be familiar with that. Owen Turtenwald, on the other hand, playing a more aggressive red-white allies deck.
But he also just played a Serene Steward, it looks like.
Yeah. So a little bit of a crossover between the allies and the life gain kind of themes.
Dan Ward just played one of the cards that really makes this deck stand out, drawn as Emissary.
Oh, yeah. That's super powerful. One of the we call them signpost multicolor uncommons.
Yeah, and Owen said that sign says go to exile. He gave it a touch of the void there and got it right out of the way and just came crashing in for 3.
So Owen with a couple early creatures, but a fairly reactive hand beyond that. Just a couple sort of removal spells and a turn against.
An Undo Great Horn from Dan Ward. Solid landfall creature. Nothing super exciting, but just perfectly fine. Looming Spires makes it impossible to block the Steward successfully. There's a landfall from Dan Ward. He's got Unified Front. He's going to make himself 2 allies here. So Unified Front in the graveyard, drawn as Emissary. Get it out of here. It is exiled. It's not coming back. Well, maybe. Although I doubt Owen has any processing in his deck. There you see his hand. He's got a Turn Against and a Gideon's Reproach. In comes everybody. He's also got the mana to turn on his Cliffside Lookout.
Yeah, that's what lets him make the attack here. Core Castigator can't be blocked by Eldrazi Scions, can be blocked by 1/1 ally tokens, but trades with both of them. The Cliffside Lookout. Dan Ward probably thinking that the double block there sort of ties up Owen's mana, forces him to use the Cliffside Lookout, but as we know, Owen actually didn't have much to follow up with anyway, so I think he's probably happy with that exchange.
Yeah, Turn Against not looking super exciting here. And that was a Carrion Thrall.
Carrier Thrall and Bloodbond Vampire.
All right.
Carrier Thrall, of course, a 2/1 vampire that dies into a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion.
It's got the fire in its belly. Is this Christian Calcano's tournament? Because he just went up a game already on Yuta Takahashi on the back table. He does not want to let go of King of the Hill.
He's certainly off to a fantastic start.
Yeah. Said he's never been King of the Hill before this weekend and has always wanted it, even for a round. Wow, he had a sure strike to counter effectively a complete disregard.
Combat.
Combat, says Owen. Dan's like, okay, I got nothing. There's a
Ooh, huge draw off the top for Dan Ward.
Colostria healer.
Colostria healer. This will let that Blood Bond Vampire start growing. Giving him a fantastic blocker against Owen's smaller creatures.
Just remember, there is that turn against, which is, in Owen's hand, is going to be just a bludgeon.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. It's not obvious that there's going to be any combat anytime soon on this board. But certainly once we get to the point where there is, that's going to be a huge tool for Owen. In the meantime, Owen just kind of has to sit back and be patient, try to draw into a few more creatures and develop his board.
Oh, it looks like he's drawn an Angelic Captain.
Oh, wow. That is enormous here. Gaining haste from the rally trigger. And as we saw last round between Paulo Vitor Damaderosa and Matt Sperling, flyers are awesome against this white-black life gain deck.
Your turn.
The vast majority of the creatures that have synergy with the life gain theme do not fly, the one exception being Colostria Nightwatch, which only flies if you've gained life this turn. And Dan Ward sitting on just a couple lands and an Inspired Charge, a card that I think we don't often see in the black-white deck. It's sort of a little bit more for the red-white allies or green-white tokens kind of decks, but can be great with Retreat to Emeria, for example.
Which is a card he has in his deck, we saw.
Mm-hmm.
Plays the Sandstone Bridge. Gets in with everybody.
Taking a piece. Yes.
So that's +1/+1 in Vigilance for the healer. So before blocks, we get Gideon's Reproach. Oh, but here's the Inspired Charge.
So a lot of damage incoming here. Owen's going to use Cliffside Lookout to finish off that Blood Bond Vampire, or perhaps vice versa.
Speaking of people who don't want to lose, Eric Severson is up a game in his match against Paulo Vitor Damaderosa. Severson, the lone undefeated player in the tournament. And Kenji Samura up a game, as you do when you cast Ulamog.
Block.
Dan Ward's at 5.
Yeah, it looks to me like Owen's going to be able to close this one out, especially given the turn against in his hand.
Your turn.
Yeah, Owen is just going to attack here. He's not going to... Yep. All right, and that's the game.
Yeah,
Angelic Captain just comes over the top and just closes Dan Ward out in 2 attacks.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And Owen wisely not even showing the turn against at the end of that game. He'll keep that one secret.
Okay, well, we're not keeping secret is the information in these messages, and then we'll be back with more Magic.
Outfit your Magic collection with the newest Battle for Zendikar accessories from Ultra Pro. You can see the full array of card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios in your favorite Magic artwork at ultrapro.com. Start on your road to the Pro Tour by playing in a preliminary Pro Tour qualifier. With more than 2,000 locations running events, you're sure to find one near you. Visit magic.wizards.com/pptq for schedules and information.
All right, welcome back. There you see our feature match area. While we're waiting for our main table to sideboard and get ready, we're going to look in on a battle between Christian Calcano, our reigning King of the Hill, and Yuta Takahashi. And it looks like a Sludge Crawler and a Colostria Healer in play. against the red-white. So it's an Arcana Assassin. I'm sorry. Against the red-white allies of Christian Calcano.
Now, we heard a little bit about Calcano's draft from Marshall, who was the spotter on the floor at the time. He's red-white allies, second pick Rolling Thunder, and just kind of moved all in. And he was next to Reed Duke, but he was going for, Calcano was going for more of the allies strategy, while Reed was moving more into red devoid.
Oh, look at that. Just ingested. And now he is being processed. Yeah. Five Grand Prix wins between these two guys. Takahashi, of course, 3 wins, known really for his Fairies decks. You know, that's where he had the most GP success. Calcano, of course, famous for 3 Sulphur Falls and 2 Grand Prix wins. Both of these guys are really looking for the breakout Pro Tour finish. Calcano, heartbreak last year, fell a point short of platinum and was kind of like dangling there for a while. Couldn't quite close out the season, but he's ever an optimist. He's a Mets fan. He sticks with it, and he's really hoping that this year is the year he turns that around. He's in great shape right now. King of the Hill. Yeah, Takahashi does have a Pro Tour top 8, but it was a while ago. It was San Diego in the Two-Headed Giant Pro Tour. So Calcano is a little constrained here, but finds its 5th mana.
Yeah, that Mind Raker was particularly brutal, forcing Calcano to discard a Touch of the Void.
Yeah, Calcano, that Resolute Blade Master, had one ingested, but had another one in hand waiting for his 5th mana. And in comes the Ondu champion. Yeah, and that drops Takahashi to 7. That's double striking Ondu champion there. Yeah, please disregard the previous Blade Master.
Send him into exile with his buddy.
Yeah. And Mindraker comes in. Calcano says, I'll take 6. I'm not... All right. What do you have, Christian Calcano, to stem the tide here? So it's interesting to watch Flyers sort of work over a number of these decks. You see all these decks that have all this synergy and are doing all these cool things. And, we've just seen flying.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of players hyping up the blue-white deck for exactly that reason. Flying's super valuable in this format. The board state tends to get pretty clogged up. There's either lots of big high-toughness creatures or lots of tokens. So evasion is great. And also the blue-white deck, doesn't rely on a lot of synergy.
Right, yeah. You're just like, I can just take these cards, right? Again, Wavewing Elemental wasn't a synergistic card in Paulo's deck last round, but it just let him close out games.
Mm-hmm.
See Owen Turtenwald and Dan Ward still shuffling up here for their game 2. There's a Core Castigator. First striking Ondu champion comes in. First striking and trampling. And Yuta Takahashi tries to line up his blocks. Looks like is he pushing everybody in front of that? keep an eye on our main match up there. Well, we'll check in with them after this this turn. I'm curious to see how this plays out.
I think a multi-block is fine here. Christian only has one card in his hand. He was hit by a Mind Raker recently, so I doubt he would have kept a combat trick like a Sure Strike or something along those lines in his hand, given that he discarded Touch of the Void. I mean, it is true that a Lithomancer's focus would be savage here, but...
Now he's thinking about what his crackback looks like.
There we go. Quadruple block. I love it. Multi-blocking a first striker always makes you nervous. But I appreciate the courage here. I think it's the right play.
2 cards?
Yeah, 2 cards.
Calcano's happy to be able to deal with that flyer, though.
Yeah, first, second, third, fourth. Damage. Go.
All right, yeah, we're going to go back to our main match. We'll give you an update on how this goes. Maybe it'll be a game 3 that we can pick up here. But meanwhile, we're going to go back to Owen Turtenwald, Player of the Year a couple years ago, against Dan Ward, looking to make his name on the Pro Tour.
And
Owen
here's
plays his own
another-
Resolute Blade Master. And rumbles in with...
Is that a
wow,
vested vehicle?
that's the game.
Wow. Owen just rolling over Dan Ward in 2 decisive games there.
Yeah. Saw a couple of Colostra. It looked like a couple of Colostra healers for Dan Ward, but I guess he was there was nothing really going on. Well, let's go back and check in on that match between Calcano and Takahashi that we just cut away from. You see Core Castigator. It sounds like Tamada Samura is tied 1-1. And it's also 1-1 in the match between Paulo Vitor Damarosa and Eric Severson.
And that was a Guldra's Overseer, rare vampire, from Yuta Takahashi, met by Stone Fury from Christian Calcano.
Yeah.
So the board looking relatively clear at this point.
Yeah, they're
Lots
just-
of trading back and forth from these players.
Oh, but Bane of Balagad.
Wow. Bane of Balagad, one of the more powerful uncommon Eldrazi here. Its main weakness being low toughness, but on a relatively clear board like this, it's going to be able to get in there and do its kind of pseudo-annihilator
Yeah,
thing.
and Calcano is empty-handed, so he is playing off the top here. What can he draw? Is there anything in his deck that lets him deal with this? I mean, we just saw Stone Fury go by. No, there is not. At least not on the top. Wow, Bane of Balagad. Yeah, I feel like the draft format has moved around in such a way where people were like, when you first started drafting, you're like, oh, this is going to be all giant Eldrazi all the time. And then everyone's like, oh, wait, there's all these cool synergies and all these cool decks I can build. But, you know, sometimes it's nice to just top off with a big Eldrazi anyway.
Yeah, Bane of Balagad is one I like quite a bit. It's one of the kind of middling Eldrazi as far as casting cost
Sure.
and size.
It is no rune processor.
That's true. But yeah, it's sort of guaranteed to get value when it attacks. It often trades the first time it attacks, but it might take out 3 or 4 permanents of the opponents.
All right. So we're going to stay with this match between Yuta Takahashi and Christian Calcano. See them shuffling up.
Love those Haruya sleeves.
Oh,
from
yeah, they're
Tomohiro
beautiful.
Saito's store in Japan.
The boxes, the deck boxes that they have too are gorgeous. They all have that kind of like parchmenty look to them. Manila is really more. They look like manila envelopes. Christian Calcano, of course, showing off the art from the new Kiora on his sleeves. There you get a look at Eric Severson, 9-0, playing against Hall of Famer Paulo Vitor Damarosa, who is 8-1. And there is the calculator himself, Christian Calcano.
Definitely the talk of the tournament with his innovative blue-black Aristocrats deck yesterday. Hopefully he'll continue to do well in the limited portion so we can see him at the feature match table a little bit later on in the day in our standard portion.
There you get a look at how these guys are in relation to each other, where everyone's sitting. You see Takahashi here in the foreground, Calcano facing him, and Severson and Paulo in the background.
And setting the stage for these decks a little bit more, we talked about Christian Calcano having a pretty streamlined, powerful red-white allies deck, double Resolute Blade Masters we saw last game. We know he has a Rolling Thunder from the earlier in the draft viewer portion. Yuta Takahashi on the other side, he has a white-black deck that's a little bit less reliant on synergy than some of the other ones we've seen before. He does have a little bit of a sort of ingest process sub-theme, but it's not really what his deck is all about. He's just kind of trying to play powerful cards.
Right, it looks like he's playing multiple 7-drop Eldrazi. I saw a Rune Processor in his hand.
Another card that I like with a sort of a light process theme. You don't really need to go super all in on exiling things. Just need a couple ways.
I don't know if you noticed this, but this is a Gideon ally of Zendikar mirror match.
Oh, wow.
They've gone different ways to get there, but both of these players have Gideon ally of Zendikar in their deck.
That makes a lot of sense. I was wondering why Yuta was white to go with his black processor theme, but yeah, Gideon is a perfectly good reason.
So McKindy Patrol feels the touch of the void, and Cork Castigator gets in for 3.
Mindraker.
And Mindraker without the ability to process. It's just a hill giant.
Yeah, which is still serviceable here. Fills out the curve.
There is
Ouch.
the Resolute Blade Master.
So that's a 3-1 double strike.
Yeah, drops
coming in.
Takahashi down to 11 here. He is going to need to kill that Blade Master.
18.
Then comes a Dominator Drone
Yeah.
for Yuta.
Dings Calcano for 2.
That 2 mana left up represents Gideon's Reproach. We'll see if Christian Calcano keys in on that and if he wants to play around it or just make an attack, looks like.
Yeah, he
goes
keyed
ahead
in
and
on
passes.
it.
Yep.
Calcano says go. Takahashi looks at him and Calcano chuckles.
You have to figure it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Yuta did not much in the early game, played a Mindraker on turn 4 with nothing to process, and then left up 2 mana on turn 5. Seems unlikely that he wasn't planning to do anything with that 2 mana. He would have played a 3-drop earlier.
Well, Ondu Rising in hand for Takahashi. That's been a really sweet card that's sort of turned games around out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Kenji Samura has died with an Ulamog in hand. An angel has been stripped of its wings, folks. Tomato wins 2-1.
Yuta plays Ghostly Sentinel and immediately goes to put it in his graveyard, anticipating a Stone Fury from Christian Calcano.
Oh well. There is a red removal spell in hand for Calcano. It's just not Stone Fury. And this is kind of the interesting spot with Rolling Thunder right now. It's not the kill all your guys as easily as it used to be in its original incarnation because the creatures have a lot more toughness.
That is definitely true. Rolling Thunder was a common in Tempest, if you've ever played that format. It is, well, red's quite powerful for sure.
But a lot of one toughness shadow creatures and things like that in Tempest,
Yeah.
where that card felt much more backbreaking in terms of dealing with creatures. It still stinks to get it thrown at your face. Like, no, I played so well. But here comes Rolling Thunder. Yep, gonna get that flyer out of there.
And imagine we'll see the Castigator come in. Oh, maybe not.
No,
I guess
he likes
valuing the potential double strike on it in a future turn.
so Ruin Processor is close to being cast here for Takahashi, but it won't gain him any life right now. He hasn't hasn't ingested any cards. Would you consider Awakening with Andu Rising here? And yep, that's what happens.
I take 7.
Wow, gets in for 7, and Takahashi gains 7.
Potentially a little dangerous here. I mean, Calcano could have, an ally in a pump spell or something along those lines and get in a big attack with double strike here. But I guess Yuta just taking the opportunity to play his spells, to spend his mana. I mean,
Wow, there's sheer drop.
both players are aware that Yuta has Gideon's Reproach in his hand.
Gets in for 8.
Big turn from Calcano there.
But the Blade Master gets taken out.
Complete disregard.
Yeah.
I think off the top for Yuta.
Yeah, that was.
And the Mindraker now back on defense with Gideon's Reproach up. So Calcano probably going to have to put the brakes on this turn and maybe find a way to develop his board. Looks like a copy of Turn Against in Christian Calcano's hand. Possibly debating,
Just thinking about
turning
using it
against
as a
and getting
threat.
attack in. Yeah. It's not unreasonable, but I think the fact that the Gideon's Reproach mana is up and
Yeah.
Calcano's been playing around it all game, why play into it now after playing around it for so long?
There's another Court Castigator. Takahashi has Gideon in hand, but he only has 1 Plains.
Oh, wow. So I like how Calcano's been playing this game. He has an aggressive deck at baseline, but he's been very protective of his creatures, and that makes a lot of sense given the synergies that allies have with one another. You really want to kind of build up your board and get a big army in play so you can take advantage of these rally triggers and other ways to pump up your team.
Veteran War Leader. That's the splash of green in the deck for Christian Calcano. And you see Takahashi's like, let me read that. You can tap another untapped ally for first strike, vigilance, or trample.
This is a very hard card to play against, to win combats against in Limited. It can sort of just do everything, and it threatens to do them all. It's the kind of thing where, like, your opponent or a player who has the Veteran War Leader often doesn't even need to activate it. It's just the threat of being able to activate it that is so powerful.
Right, and it's a 4/4 right now, so 1 more creature, and Calcano can sort of get around that Gideon's Reproach.
Mindraker processing, asking Calcano to discard a card. He discards Mountain. Happy to do that after already having used his Rolling Thunder. Doesn't really need a lot of excess land. And that copy of Gideon still waiting in Yuta Takahashi's hand. Waiting for that second Plains.
Cards. Full.
Turn Against looming in Calcano's hand. But in some ways hoping he never has to use it, right? He doesn't want the tide of the game to turn such that Takahashi is attacking.
1 second.
Calcano says 1 second.
Now, there is an interesting play that Calcano could set up here.
He has an ally encampment.
Yeah, he does.
So now the Resolute Blade Master has been processed. So it is back in his graveyard. It's
Oh.
no longer in exile.
That's very interesting. That's definitely a line he could set up. The other thing I was thinking of is he could make an attack. He could make an attack with a creature.
Oh,
into-
yeah, I'm sorry. That's just going to bounce the creature to your hand. Yeah. Sorry. I was getting a little...
But I mean, Ally Encampment does let him play around Gideon's Strike.
Yes.
Reproach, rather.
Yes. But Calcano's going to slow play this. So there is that a Blighted Fen?
Looks to be.
Yep. So just more obstacles for Calcano to deal with here. Another 6 life on the board represented.
Go.
Yeah. Oh no, that wasn't Blight. Oh yes, it was the Fen. It's Sacrifice. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Blighted Step from last time. So he eats Calcano's land. Calcano's like, that's the one I'm willing to sacrifice.
Now, a little bit interesting there that Yuta went ahead and pulled the trigger on the Blighted Fen, considering he does have 2 7-drops in his hand in the form of Bane of Balagan
Oh, wow,
and
look
Ruin
at this.
Processor.
He's attacking. Oh, is Calcano going to get some value here out of his Turn Against?
Very possible. I like it. I think he's been sitting on that Turn Against for quite a long time.
So he blocks.
Decides just to block and give first strike, presumably. There's Gideon's Reproach.
Okay, now he's going to sacrifice the ally encampment and pick up the Veteran War Leader. There's complete disregard.
So that should take out the Veteran War Leader. Oh, maybe not. Interesting. Turn Against gives Christian Calcano control.
Maybe time.
No, it's 4/4 now.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Of an additional creature, which makes complete disregard fizzle.
Right.
Because,
and then the ally encampment resolves.
Right.
And he returns it to his hand.
Complete
Sweet.
disregard only destroys or exiles a creature with power 3 or less. So the
Yeah.
addition of that extra creature from Turn Against makes its power 4, stops the complete
I
disregard.
like the interesting new uses for Turn Against. Mm-hmm. So there's a McKinley Patrol. There's... Yeah, Calcano's found multiple ways to fizzle complete
has he?
disregard. Yeah. He had a sure strike in game 1, apparently.
Oh, very cool. So that's a McKinley Patrol, which grants vigilance through its rally ability.
Demon's Grasp takes out the Veteran War Leader.
If you top deck this, maybe I lose.
You hear Takahashi say, if you play a Resolute Blade Master, maybe I lose. So
So-
he's like, so I'm going to attack.
Yeah, 5.
Calcano goes to 5.
Trigger.
Fire Mantle Mage.
So Menace and Vigilance there.
Wow, and this has really come down to the race.
Wow, this game's great.
Takahashi spent this entire game sitting on Gideon. He's got a Gruul Draws Overseer. He's got 2 7-drops. Look at the
Yeah.
cards clogged up in his hand here. and there's the Resolute Blade Master.
Wow, granting vigilance, menace, double strike.
And
Crushing attack there.
another round of King of the Hill for Christian Calcano.
Wow. He is on fire this tournament.
Wow. Christian Calcano over Yuta Takahashi 2-1. And then we are going to go back to Paulo Vitor Damarosa sitting on 8-1, playing against the only undefeated player in this tournament, Eric Severson. And we're going to pick it up. Both of these players have cast an Ugins Insight this game. But Eric Severson is on the brink. He's on 5 life. There are a pair of Nettle drones in play. There is the dreaded Wave Wing Elemental flying in the air. Of course, there are a couple flyers there for Severson, who passes the turn. There's the Blighted Step.
The age-old Nettle Drone versus Blighted Step battle.
Oh.
Ugins Insight.
Yeah, I've got the second Ugins Insight. Yeah. Scry 6, says the Hall of Famer.
I don't know. After seeing this card in action, I don't know the Sky Spotter pick. It's making me question it here. By that, we were talking earlier that I think the player who opened Ugins Insight and passed it to Paulo
Took Eldrazi Sky Spawner.
Took Eldrazi Sky Spawner.
But actually, the players on both sides of him did.
Yeah, which I think is totally defensible. But Ugins Insight has been quite powerful for Paulo here.
So a pair of Nettle drones.
Yep.
And I've got a third Nettle drone.
Wow.
Hi.
So as if this 5-power flyer weren't enough, you're also on this crazy clock from these Nettle drones.
Ugins Insight coming to spell. This has 2 power. These are making my number block this. Definitely have to block this. One creature would kill me. Just gotta put a creature in front of this. Block each of these.
He's like, how do I stay alive here?
Severson just kind of talking it through. Paulo's all tapped out, so he might as well just kind of make his thought process known. And
he wants to kill those Nettle drones for sure.
Yeah, my block suck. I'll block like this. Alright, go to 1-1.
Goes to 1. There's a Nettle drone that is going to untap or lose Summoning Sickness next turn and be able to kill him unless... No, that's the hand. Eric Severson has been defeated. There are no more undefeated players in the tournament. Paulo Vitor Damarosa goes to 9-1.
wow.
Severson falls to 9-1. Also at 9-1, Christian Calcano. And Ryuichi Tamada, also 9-1. He defeated Kenji Samura. So we are really getting down to it here. Wow, some great games. You and I had a chance to call Paulo Vitor Damarosa's draft. It was a very, very tough seat to draft.
Yeah.
He was blue. He had players on either side of him in blue making picks of, the best blue common or arguably the best blue common, depending on who you talk to, in the set over Ugins Insight. Both times he got 2 Ugins Insights. Very tough seat to draft where he didn't get a lot of cards in the first pack. You gave him an A- on the sit table, a B+ on the deck.
Yeah.
And we've really seen it play out wonderfully. Like a couple of just unspectacular looking creatures in a room full of synergy. But Paulo Vitor Damarosa,
He's making it all work. Yeah,
making
he's
it
been doing
work.
great
Just
so far.
casting his cards on curve. We're going to send it back to the desk, and then we've got one more round of draft, and then heading to standard.
Thanks very much to Brian David Marshall and Ian Duke. Great stuff in the draft rounds. The field tightens up. Paulo Vitor Damarosa does the rest of the field a favour, brings Eric Severson back into the mix. So Severson 9-1, Paulo Vitor Damarosa 9-1, Christian Calcano 9-1. Remember, with a deck that was not defeated yesterday in Standard. A great deck. We're going to get a deck tech this afternoon on that deck because you're going to have some fun playing with that. You're also going to get some headaches playing that. It is a really interesting deck. Guillaume Medeiros Mayam is up to 8 wins, and that means Reed Duke is 0-2 despite that terrific draft we walked through this morning. Well, the cards haven't fallen right for Reed. He's at 0-2 this morning, still on his overnight 7 wins. So 7 wins for him, Mayam at 8. Martin Muller is still on 8 wins. That's because Sam Tharmaratnam of Canada is up to 8-1-1. He was the winner there. And Ryoichiro Tamada took out Kenji Samura at 8 wins, 8-2. Tamada, 9 wins, 9-1, one of the co-leaders of the tournament. Well, someone sneaking up on the rails had a very quiet but very successful day 1 and has now won back-to-back here on day 2 is Owen Turtenwald, and he spoke with Marshall Sutcliffe.
Hey there, I'm here with Owen Turtenwald, fresh after the last round. Owen, how did the last round go for you?
Oh, it went very well for me.
You won.
I had a main camera feature match, and I won in spectacular fashion.
And what does that put you for your record?
8-2.
How you feeling about that?
Feel great.
You have one more round of draft to go here, and then you're going to be pushing forward into the constructed rounds. So talk us through that last round of draft, and then moving into constructed, how you're feeling.
Well, I feel good about both formats. I'm 4-1 in draft so far, 4-1 in constructed, and I've already drafted my deck, obviously, so I know that it's quite good. I know I get to play another round with. I don't have to. I get to, and then after that, I get to play with my constructed deck, which I'm also quite confident with. So it's looking good.
What would it take in your mind, record-wise, to get you into the top 8 here? This is a little bit smaller of a PT than previous.
It's pretty normal for 12-3-1 to be the gold standard benchmark that everyone's shooting for. So obviously if I get to have my pick of the litter, that's what I pick. There's some chance I could make it at 12-4. I've seen it happen before, but not expecting it.
Okay, so you've got a loss to give, and then if you can pick up a draw somewhere in there, you could find yourself in the top 8. Good luck, Owen.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Owen Turtenwald, they're 8-2, one of a stack of great names, just one win behind the lead, because the headline this round, Eric Severson loses to Palavida Rosa, and that means there are no more undefeated players. All right, so it's time for draft viewer action now. We saw an amazingly intricate, fascinating black-white life gain deck out of Matt Sperling. How did that come together? We're going to find out. A real great primer on this archetype. Here comes Marshall Sutcliffe with Matt Sperling.